Hello. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about some very interesting news. Apparently, the trial set for Trump, or one of his trials, is going to be set the day before Super Tuesday. That's crazy. That's really crazy. So that's what Judge Chutlin, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but wanted in his DC court case. That's bananas. That's bananas, especially since Jack Smith apparently wanted it earlier and Trump, of course, wanted it later. But man, oh man, this is some interference. But what is the likelihood that all this will stop Trump? There's been a lot of buzz over the weekend, especially since taking like his mugshot, and folks on the left like, we got him, and folks on the right like, yeah, doesn't he look cool? And then there's been some wild sort of predictions about Trump just winning all the black vote now, which I think is absurd. So I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm sure I'll talk more about it later. But so we'll be talking about that also on the Sunday show. I'm not trying to just pile on Vivek. I'm really not. But man, I mentioned he had an answer to the debate after they asked everyone on the debate stage about Mike Pence, and he didn't get a chance to answer. And so someone asked him the question after the debate, and I talked about it with you guys, and I was very confused about his answer because I was trying to look at it pretty favorably, or charitably rather, not very favorably, but charitably. And I couldn't quite get there. I was because I'm like, it doesn't make sense. So he clarified and doubled down on the position on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd, which I did watch like their whole segment, and there's lots more I could say, but I gotta talk about it. I really do. And we'll be talking about some other things as well today. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos. Today I did post I know it's a bit late, but a rundown of the debate. Of course, I talked about it live, but if you want to read kind of my assessment or analyzing kind of each candidate, I did do that. So you guys can check out that article on the website along with many others as well. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Cost a stream, cost to run my website. So if you can, and if you're able, please go ahead and go to the website, whether it's a small gift, $10, $20, or you can do more. God bless you. I very much appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you for those who watch it live and those who are watching it back later. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats, or you guys can do super thanks. So just again, thank you very much. Especially those super chats and thanks do help out, because not everything that I may do live ends up, being monetized by YouTube, because sometimes they don't like the things that we talk about. So that does help, but you guys can go directly to the website. And I also want to mention that Tucker Carlson is coming to Michigan on September the 10th. So if you would like to come, please come, and I will be there myself. There'll be, a cool concert going on as well. We're going to be honoring our police and first responders, as we do at this event every year, and also giving out some scholarships. So it's for a great cause. The Brighter Michigan PAC is throwing it on. And I haven't been in their studio in a minute, but I was there every day for some time, and I could not have grown the way that I did, I think, without them. So they were really a godsend. And if you appreciate my content. I think we, may not know, but we all owe him thanks. So if this is a way that you can support while seeing Tucker Carlson, this is a great way to support. So in my description for this episode, there is a link that will take you to some seats that I have discounted for the event. So if you would like to participate and come and have a good night, I hope I see you there. Hope I see you there. And you guys can also check out different merchandise that we have at the store. I do have like Trump stuff that I just dropped. I don't think I have a photo, so let me go to the website really quick and go to the merchandise page so I can share my screen. And again, everybody was like waiting for this stuff to drop. Someone was like, people just making money off of everything. I'm like, look, the Trump campaign made a fake thing a couple months ago, so spare me. They made like $7 million apparently since the getting booked. That's crazy. So I question what will be the end game and how they'll be able to get out of that mess kind of unscathed. But in the meantime, they certainly did raise a lot of money that I'm sure they'll use for a lot of legal fees. So we got the hoodie here. So you guys would like any of this merch. I got other merch with black tea on it. I got, other stuff, but this is the newest. So if anyone is interested, this stuff is available. Look at that. It's pretty hard, right? It took a minute to make that gold chain, by the way. And we got it on a t-shirt. So go ahead and pick it up at blacktnews.com. Yeah. So you guys know that I like to start with something funny. And I don't have a meme. And it is a Vivek video because this is an old one, I guess. I think it's old when he was on actually I think the date is on it, so we will see if it's old or not. But he was on the Jordan Peterson show. So someone clipped this, and it was a moment when he was thinking out loud and just said something kind of silly. So when I heard it, I thought it was puzzling and funny, and then I sent it to my sister, one of my sisters, and I didn't tell her to call me, but she immediately called me. And then I sent to another sister, and she immediately called me after she saw it. So I'm going to show you at least two Vivek videos today, but I hope this one makes you laugh.
With every other kid who's growing up in this country as well. Does that mean that one of the 25% of kids, and it is that high, who are born into fatherless homes or raised in fatherless homes today don't have a shot at achieving everything that I have or people like me have in my life? No. In fact, if I'm speaking to one of those kids, I will say that in your unique experience, there is still sources of strength that you will be able to find. It doesn't have to be exactly what mine was. Would we have would we have won World War II if FDR didn't have polio? I don't know, actually. I just, it's a weird question to ask, but I don't know. I mean, but does that mean we wish polio upon every US president or every citizen because that's how we protect ourselves? No. And so both of these things can be true at once, that when you encounter hardship, you don't have to be victimized by it. You still can derive at an individual level fortitude from it, because if it isn't the two-parent household, then it can be something else that grounds you. But that also should stop us short of saying, oh, well, because somebody else can do it or did do it, that we should wish polio in the FDR analogy case, or a single-parent household in the case of a quarter of people in this country's case, upon everybody else. No.
Still made me laugh. Comparing single parent homes to polio, huh? But anyway, I have had some criticisms. My sister called me. Well, I talked to my oldest sister, and she said my cousin who was talking to her, and she's like, "Does he owe her money or something?" Because I was just made a couple posts, said a couple things, and it's only as of recently, I guess, I started really digging, because I haven't really spoken much about him before. But there's a lot of things that have perturbed me. But some people have suggested that I should reach out to him and his people and try to get him on. And I did reach out to his deputy comms person on, social media. And the only way I kind of knew to do, so I can try some other ways. And I will say this: I will try to make that connection for about a week, and after that, I will probably do a massive video on some just things I don't like. And so I'm sharing my opinion. Everybody can have theirs, and people can vehemently disagree with my opinion, but people do ask for my opinion. And he doesn't have a record of governing, so it is important to still vet people in other ways. So you can take everything I say about him with a grain of salt. But I do have concerns. I do have concerns, and I think they're valid, and we can debate whether they're valid or not. But I do want to open up that space for debate, and to uh, have that conversation if they're even interested. Some people said he's talked to smaller channels. Mine's not tiny compared to like Candace Owens or something. Yeah, my page is on the smaller side, but we are at 81,000 on YouTube. So thank you guys for following. So I did try and we'll to reach out, and we'll continue in other methods. I'll reach out to other people, see if they have a other kind of way to get connected. And again, I don't know if they will. I don't know if they will, but I just want to let you guys know that I'm open to that conversation, and I've taken that advice from you guys. Um but so I'll give it a little bit of time before I lay out all my sort of issues. But I do have an issue I need to talk about today. We'll get to the Trump stuff in a minute. Will be a couple minutes, but um, so he was on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd, and they talked about a couple different things. They talked about Vivek's book, which, unlike his conversation that he had with Candace, he like owned what he wrote and stuff, because he told Candace Owens that it was a satirical chapter. There was a segment, a portion in there when he's, when Todd is like, "Hey, but you're kind of changing up what you believe or how you're going about election fraud and stuff now." He's like, "No, my thing is, I've always said there wasn't enough fraud to change the outcome of the election, but there is like all this big tech stuff that I think made the difference." And Chuck Todd is like, "You didn't say any of that in your book." And then Vivek said, "That's not true, and it's in the book." And I'm like, "Well, that's an interesting thing, because I didn't find anything about like Hunter Biden's laptop or any laptop or really big tech suppression. I'll have to give it another look." But that might be another Pinocchio for Vivek, but I'll have to get back with you guys on that. But I'm pretty sure Chuck Todd was right. But that's not what I want to focus on today. He was asked, well, all the people at the debate well, not everybody, but they threw out a question at the debate asking whether or not Mike Pence did the right thing as far as certifying the election results. And most people were like, "Yeah, Ron DeSantis wasn't." He like immediately tried to like derail the question about Florida or something like that, which we did basically with every question. But then they're just like, "Answer the question, answer the question." He's like, "Of course he did the right thing." And he's like, "I got no beef with Mike." And I'm like, "You could have just said that though, but at the very beginning." But um which, by the way, side note, I've said that I thought he was really awkward. um I think he did do some good things in the debate, but Michael Levin had a really good monologue on why he thought that he did the best, but he really needs to become more natural during debates. Really, 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 really needs to work on that, I think, because I'm glad more people liked his performance than I did, I guess, but, but I thought it was really kind of awkward, and learned to smile naturally or something. It was just a little weird to me. But anyway, Vivek didn't get the opportunity to answer. so he was interviewed after the debate. I can't remember by who asked him the question, but he's like, "Oh, I just, I want to be respectful to the rules, so I didn't jump in there," which was interesting. He's like, "But I do have like a in-depth question," and but they had to press him a little bit, it seemed like, to answer it. So he had said something along the lines of that he would have taken the moment to try to come up with some kind of compromise on the certification, where we're like, well, to have a free fair election, you need, 1 day to vote and paper ballots and stuff. Um I thought that was such a weird thing to say, because I'm like, he doesn't have the power to do that. And how would he accomplish such a thing? So to me, I was like, maybe I'm like reading into this wrong. I'm trying to read into it charitably or whatever, but I just couldn't quite get there. So he on Chuck Todd during that interview, Meet the Press, he did talk about it again, and was asked, and he repeated what he said. So I'm gonna let you guys hear it. And by the way, he like reposted this segment on his own page, so he's pretty pleased with this answer. So there's a lot of, issues with it, in my opinion, but let's give it a listen.
To answer at the debate. Most of the candidates on stage Wednesday night said Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. Do you agree?
I would have done it very differently. I think that there was a historic opportunity that he missed to reunite this country in that window. What I would have said is this is a moment for a true national consensus, where there's two elements of what's required for a functioning democracy in America. One is secure elections, and the second is a peaceful transfer of power. When those things come into conflict, that's an opportunity for heroism. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would you have done
it through the Senate.
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform, then on that condition certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election. I think that was a missed opportunity, but that's the kind of spirit we're going to need to unite this country rather than sweeping those concerns under the rug.
Okay. One, Mike Pence had no authority, no power to. I know people are debate whether he could have send it back to the states and all that other stuff. I don't really agree with that, but let's just say it's up in the air. It's controversial, and his role is not just ceremonial, and he had the power to do this. He doesn't have the power to introduce new legislation into the Congress. It's not his job. What he's suggesting, and I know it might sound good to people because they're like, oh, I like voter ID. I think we should have single day elections and stuff, paper ballots. That sounds good to me. So that sounds good to people. So I don't know, some people, especially like when he had reposted it, didn't seem like they were registering it. This is what he's essentially saying. Like, let's imagine it's 2016. It's 2016. Democrats are TO'd that Donald Trump has won. Not only they're TO'd, they're floating around preparing like the whole Russian collusion, blah, blah, blah stuff that has happened. We did recounts. I worked in the recount in Michigan. It was so annoying because I knew we wouldn't find any numbers or anything to change the outcome of the election, but I actually had to participate, and it was annoying. I was on vacation, actually. You don't know what it's like. Well, I don't know how many people who watching it, what kind of profession they have in the background with politics. But I worked for the Michigan Republican Party. It was a long, hard fought battle, like nonstop, and we're salary and not hourly. So, you put in your time as much as possible. You're available, they expect, when it's cool and calm or whatever, you go in there, Monday through Friday, like 8:30 to 5 or something, or 4 or something, whatever time we left. But, in my case, I lived in, the east side of the state, and not in Lansing. I ended up moving out there for a little bit, just because it was getting to be too much, with the back and forth, because it was like hour and 20-minute drive for me. But it bus tours came, like, it just nonstop, morning and night, everything for the election. And when it's over, you expect, you celebrate, you're happy, and you expect to have some time off. My time off was ruined by the recount stuff. So pretty annoying. Anyway, let's say amongst that time, that Joe Biden, who was the vice president at the time, let's say that he decided, I'm not going to certify these election results until we pass, whatever legislation they want. Like, I don't know, codify Roe v. Wade, or, no restriction abortion, or packing the courts, or forcing through Merrick Garland's nomination. Imagine if Joe Biden withheld the certification until the Congress did whatever the heck he wanted. That's what Vivek is suggesting. And maybe it sounds good because people want, voter ID and other things. And a lot of people don't want voting same day, because the lines, in a lot of places, especially like big urban populated places, the line's already long. So of course you could make more locations, but then you also need more workers to do it. It's just logistically a big thing. But then he's suggesting that they operate on a federal level to do that, when it's the states that control the elections. And the more you centralize the voting and stuff in the election, the easier it is to actually like scam the election. It is actually funny because Democrats tried to pass something, some kind of sweeping legislation that would impact a lot of and override a lot of state laws regarding election. And I was like going around, and I think it was before the midterm, 2020 midterm, because I remember I was at an event talking to some people from DC who came out for an event. And I remember Chief Craig was there, who was running for governor, but it didn't work out for him. But he was just like about to announce. And I mentioned to the people, it was for like the NSCC or NRFC, whatever it is, for the National Senate Committee for Republicans or whatever, or maybe it was the congressional one. But I was talking to somebody from their office, and I'm like, why don't you guys bring up the fact that when Obama was mocking Trump back in 2016 about the election, he's like, we can't rig the election. Like, we can't rig. I can't rig an election in Texas. Obama mocked the idea when Trump was going around saying it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. He was saying like, it's too diverse for someone to be able to rig it all across the country, and people in blue states or people, who are Democrats at the federal level aren't going to be rigging elections that are in red areas. That doesn't mean that you can't have like low level kind of like stuff that happens. But to the degree of, you know, some mass sort of level, especially back then, he thought that was absurd. So the point is that our elections are safer because they're not top down, one size fit all, whatever. So what he said is just absurd. And even if he could have introduced that legislation and got all the Republicans to back it, what about all the Democrats? Like Nancy Pelosi just would have been cool with that. Like, oh, let's just pass a bill and just hold up the entire election. Yeah, that's cool. Let's vote on that. And or, you know, in the Senate, like how would that have gone down? It's an implausible solution. It's impossible. It would have been politically impossible to pull off, and there's no constitutional authority to do what he suggested. Now, he could have just said, yes, Mike Pence did the right thing, because he basically, you know, said, in his book, I admire Mike Pence. He you know, did what he thought it was his constitutional duty. Our institutions were tested and they survived, but they never should have been tested at all. Donald Trump had no real claim to, you know, election. His election claims are just as bad as Stacey Abrams. He's a sore loser. Sore losers are a threat to our democracy. He wrote all that in his book, right? So he could have just said, yes, Mike Pence did the right thing, and he left it at that. But the thing that what he does is that he'll, you know, instead of just kind of answering a question, I get straight out, he'll be like, I'm the one who's telling you the truth. And he'll have this like long, complicated sort of thing that maybe sounds simple to some people, but when you really think about it, it's like, what the heck? You know? And he's like, we need unity. We need a national compromise. So instead of just saying the straightforward, correct answer that most people would just agree with, he got to be a little bit different, you know, and to appease, you know, because he can't say that he did the wrong thing, because that would upset everyone who knows that, you know, or believes that Mike Pence did his duty. But he can't just say that he should have just did his duty, because that will upset the people who are mad at Mike Pence. So he makes up this scenario that would have that's just not grounded in any sort of reality. So again, my issue, I have quite a few issues with Vivek, is that my concern is that I think he tells a lot of people what they want to hear. And I'm concerned about kind of at the core of what he believes and what he will actually push. And he keeps talking about, I'm going to say the truth. I'm going to say the things that no one else will say because everyone else is bought and paid for. And but he, you know, believes a lot of the same things, and some things where they disagree, you know, like stuff with Ukraine. And if he's going after like the populist sort of section in the electorate, that's not really a big risk to him. So because he's not going to get the Nikki Haley vote, you know, the people in that kind of sect of the traditional sort of Republicans, especially when there's like, you know, governors that have governed particularly well running in the field. So I'm not going to say there are things that are wise about how he articulates things and runs his campaign. But then there's things that are definitely kind of dumb. Like the repeated lying while he wears a hat that says truth. In the backdrop that says truth. And like stands on kind of like a stand with the placard in front that says truth. So again, I've reached out, you know, I'll try to reach out some more to his folks, and we'll try to have that conversation. But yeah, the Mike Pence thing is just absolutely nonsensical. Absolutely nonsensical. And by the way, he did vote by mail. And there's some old tweets of his saying that we need to have like mandatory voting. And he said you could still issue like a blank ballot or something, but that everybody needs to participate via, and you track people via their social security number or whatever. And that's not a good idea. I don't think people should be, it should be, I know in some countries it's mandatory that everybody has to vote. But I don't think people who are ill informed about the issues should vote. I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to. I'm not saying that, but I like, there's what you can do and what you ought to do, right? So and I don't feel like people talk about voter suppression, but what about people who are pressured to do something that they won't want to do, or or how people are treated so poorly if they think differently, you know. Let's table this Vivek thing, and I just want to explain something that happened over the weekend. So I posted a video on TikTok some time ago. Also put it up as a short as well. And there's this woman with a really big platform. She's a bisexual Black woman, and she's very far on the left. And she did a video about how people on the right are a hate group. And that was her video. And she made a quip about the judges in robes, comparing them to like Klan members and stuff. And but just just the conservative ones. And she mentioned like if the affirmative action case and the 303 creative case. So I responded to her video and said, the difference between me and you is that I believe in equality, you believe in equity, and you believe in slavery, and I don't. And you believe in discriminating against people because of their race, and I don't. And so the affirmative action, case, like people, we know that they were discriminating against Asian people. So should people be doing that now? Most Americans don't think so. They don't think your race should determine whether or not you're going to get into college or not. That's an old idea that was supposed to rectify some things. And it's long overdue to be gone, and it's fine that it's gone, I think. Anyway, people are very upset about it. But the 303 creative case, if you're unfamiliar with it, it was a case brought out by a website designer who's a Christian in Colorado, and she does not want to be forced to have to make websites for like a gay wedding or something. So they deemed that she had standing, even though like there wasn't particular damage or something like that, because Colorado has a pattern of doing this. If you recall, like Masterpiece Cake Shop. And so the Supreme Court ruled that not even just like a religious liberty thing. They ruled like, no, the state, like you still have to do like public accommodations. Like if you go into like a Dunkin' Donuts or something and they're like, we don't serve a kind here. You can't do that. Right. So you still have a public accommodations. But as far as like, if you went into a cake shop and said, I would like this special cake made for this thing, and they're like, I don't want to do that, it's against my beliefs or whatever, they can't make you do that, whether you're a Christian and it's a gay couple who wants it for their wedding, or if it's a Christian asking a gay baker to make a cake for their conversion therapy camp that says pray the gay away. The government can't make you do that. So that is a good thing for everyone. That is a good thing for everyone. And but people just view it as it being an anti-gay thing. So sorry you feel that way, but the First Amendment is for everybody, and I would rather have the freedom, I guess, to discriminate against you and say no, rather than the government have to force everyone to do what everyone wants. And against my will. I'd rather have the disagreement with you than the government get involved and basically be a gun against me. So, I mean, we can negotiate with each other. But the government is a thug who comes in to basically ruin your life in that scenario. So, you're not entitled to my labor. So that's why I said that they're for slavery, because they think that they're entitled to other people's labor. So, so people, I got mostly like some positive feedback from that video, but I don't know where it kind of pulled up in some of the liberal sphere the other day, but I had some people write some pretty nasty things to me. that I noticed yesterday. There was a black older gentleman who called me and mind you, I'm getting out of church and like on my way to go eat with my sister, and I'm looking at my notifications, and someone calls me a bed wench and a coon, and then there was this other guy, I think he was Indian, who said, "Oh, you don't believe in racism, huh?" And I'm like, "No, I believe in racism. I'm people say racist things to me like every day." And it's, really no exaggeration. And they're like, "Oh, I guess it's those conservatives that say that to you." And I'm like, and he accused me of also being like a grifter who hates my skin. And I said, "No, it's people like you who say those things and make assumptions about me because I'm black. It's precisely people like you who make racist comments." And then he started like listing different things, like, "What do you think about Ron DeSantis saying that slavery is good?" I'm like, "Literally did not happen." And then he's like, "What do you think about black voter suppression?" And I didn't go down the rap. I wanted him to prove the Ron DeSantis thing first before I went like off a checklist and stuff, which he didn't end up being able to prove, so I just ended up blocking him. But I wanted to say, like, bro, you don't care about black voter suppression. Like, aren't you in a way trying to suppress me? That like, there's a lot of people who won't ever consider or wouldn't consider being a Republican or being a conservative, even if their values kind of align or very much aligned, because there's all these perceptions that people pack into their minds about people being Uncle Toms and coons, and that they will catch hell if they do. There was one young man when my sister worked at the Detroit office in Michigan who black guy, young man, and he was hearing some things that Republicans were about, but he was like scared to do anything because he just kept hearing from everybody how racist they were, and he didn't want to be known as a racist himself. So he like popped in the Detroit office, saw there were black people working there, and they just had some conversations, and and he realized, that he was hyped up by absurd stuff in the media. And I'm not saying that there aren't racists on both sides or whatever, though there is literal um racism within the Democrat Party, like literally in the platform. They don't they advocate against policies that do not treat people under the law equally. That's in the Saving the Soul of America section of their platform. Please go read it yourself. Um that they believe in equity, not equality, so we can't all be treated the same because America's been so bad that we just can't move forward in a equal sort of measure. We have to keep jerry rigging our laws or whatever and different policies to uplift other people while we chop up the feet from other folks to make things level, I suppose. Because God forbid we try to have equal opportunity, because Lord knows you can't create equal outcome. It's just not gonna happen. So if you really respected black people or just any minority or just any person, when they express a view, why don't you just debate the view and not do ad hominem attacks? I understand there's a lot of grifters online. There's a lot of people who say things for clicks and clout and for applause and all that different stuff. I promise you my overall arching views on life and stuff have not really changed from the time I really started being interested in politics. And I know I'm young, but that's about 20 years. So because my dad was really into politics and stuff, and so he would talk about it a lot, and so I'd read and listen, you know I remember going to a Hannity and Combs thing when it came to Detroit, and it was pretty exciting. There was a Holocaust denier on there, and then and they were just going in on the guy. And then during the the commercial break, we just decided to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we all were like, one nation under God. Like we all like just knew to just like scream it at the same time. And so there was just a lot of great energy there. And my siblings were a little TO'd because they had plans to go to a Medea play, and they had to miss some of the play or be late to a bit of the play, I think, because that my dad wanted us to go to this event and see like Sean Hannity and stuff. So yeah, I've been involved for politics a long time, and I appreciate people liking my page, and I appreciate people following me. I appreciate people donating and sending super chats and all that kind of stuff. But I promise you my views wouldn't change if I was talking to 4 people. They'd still be what they are. So if you spend enough time researching or talking to people about their views and you challenge them and see where they are. Now, some people say stuff and maybe they're not that informed, but they believe what they're saying, but maybe they can't substantiate it or whatever. So that doesn't, just because someone doesn't really have a nailed down philosophy doesn't necessarily make them a grifter. But I think you can tell. I think you can tell eventually if someone's running a grift. So you definitely shouldn't accuse someone of running a grift the very first time you see their content. Like some people also went to like a video that I did of critical race theory, and it was like the 5 stages of critical race theory. And so people get really mad when they see that video and they just want to insult me rather than addressing what CRT is, the relevancy of it is, the media's reaction to it, because it goes through like denial and like, oh, critical race theory is not in school, and then it's like angry, like how dare you take it out of school. Those things happened. They said it's not in school, but they got really angry when people start to ban it from school, and then bargaining, and at the end it's acceptance with people just being like, oh, you were for communism. And that's all based off of conversations that I've had with people as they try to say it's not in schools, it's a good thing it's in schools. And I'm, I'm like, well, it's like Marxist to communism kind of stuff, and they're just like, well, communism is good. I'm like, okay then. But they don't want to have those conversations. They just want to attack. And my thing is, if that's your intro to come in and just like try to punch me in the face, I don't owe you a conversation. I really don't. I might engage to get a good screenshot and mock you or something, but but a lot more, I've learned to ignore a lot more people than I used to in the past. I might there's a lot of people who said some racial things about me after my video with Larry Elder in the Breakfast Club, and like, here's another coon. I'll just say, oh, look, another racist. I'll just keep it moving. But if you have a disagreement with me, you have a shot to, lay out a good rebuttal, a good argument. But if you go on the attack, you lost your shot. You forfeited it. And I will just assume you have nothing intelligent or constructive to add to the conversation. So you can go troll somebody else. But it's not a way to gain respect. Anyway, moving on. It's been announced that Trump's trial date, one of his trial dates, because he's been indicted 4 times, is going to be before Super Tuesday. And that's really bonkers. Super Tuesday is a day where a lot of states have their primaries, and by Super Tuesday, you basically know, like Joe Biden, his campaign was like floundering back in 2020, and they're just like, we could just kind of get to like Super Tuesday, and and then he started racking up some wins in the South, and was basically a win for him, because Bernie looked like he was going to be competitive, and like everybody like rallied around Biden to boost him up. So Of course, he's sitting in the White House now. What's crazy about this, Greg Price is reporting, and he's with I think he's with the Daily Caller. Not 100% sure, but he is a reporter. But Greg Price reported, breaking Judge Chutkan has set President. I'm sorry if that's wrong. How you say it? Has set President Donald Trump's trial date to Biden's DOJ sham prosecution against him to begin on March 4th, 2024, which is a day before Super Tuesday. Out of all the days, Jack Smith wanted the trial to begin early January. Trump's legal team wanted to push it to 2026. That's way out there. But I guess he has a lot of trials. Instead, the Obama-appointed judge sets it to begin the day before the most important day of the presidential primary election. There's also 12.8 million pages of discovery that the DOJ jumped on President Trump's lawyers that they have to go through between now and March of next year. Pour one out for them. That's pretty remarkable. Again, they have 4 different trials to prepare for. And now this one... This particular trial is kind of crazy. That indictment. This isn't the second one. This is the third one, and this one will be in DC. And even though it's not as strong as the documents case, it's more likely he won't really get a fair trial. I laugh because it's just so ridiculous. I don't think Trump's behavior since his loss of 2020 was appropriate. I think there's a good way to air grievances, and I don't think the way he went about things was correct. And I think how he handled the documents. People are like, oh, other people had documents. Pence had documents. Biden had documents. Trump was like hiding documents from lawyers. He had someone fly documents to another location. He's on video talking about revealing like a classified document to someone, and they did end up, in the superseded indictment, they mentioned that they had the document or whatever. So it looks pretty bad as far as things going for him in the second indictment case. However, Florida, the jury might be more favorable to him. A lot of information came from his lawyers, so maybe they could throw out a bunch of stuff. I don't know how any of this stuff is going to turn out. But it is pretty clear to me, this man, they have no intention of allowing this man to be president again. And by the way, it's both political sides. Like Trump wants people to drop out. And a lot of money is going toward his lawyers. It's very expensive. It's probably the type of lawyers he's hiring is a high expense anyway. It's very expensive because people keep leaving and then they have to learn a lot very quickly. It's also probably like very high because they just indicted his lawyers in Georgia. So there's also a risk to being associated with them. So the fees are probably just astronomical as far as his lawyers, right? So he's raising a lot of money to try to also pay for these legal bills. And then he has to try to set up some kind of ground game. Like there's been more money directed toward like hitting DeSantis than hitting Joe Biden or any other competitor. So they're still, spending money to try to get DeSantis, and there's the money to like build up a team, to build up a ground game, all that stuff. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. So Trump was like, they should just drop out. I'm way ahead, etc. Because they want to like everybody to coalesce around him, raise money for him, and other stuff like that. But these big donors like DeSantis and other people they have small donors, sure, but they'll have really big donors as well. I don't know how many big donors Trump's going to have because a lot of them feel like, I'm not paying for your legal bills. So he's probably, and they don't want him to be president again. I'm not gonna say nobody super rich isn't gonna want him to be president again, who's a big donor, but I know some big donors who like ain't gonna happen. So between his trials, and he may still win the nomination, because we could be saying, oh, they want to sabotage him. That's why the trial is set before Super Tuesday. Or they see how people rally behind him and give to him like crazy and feel like, oh, this is such an injustice. We have vengeance. We have to vote for vengeance. And then they go out and they support him because he's at the forefront of their mind. And instead of asking, can he win? They're like, he should win. This is like we have to make sure he wins for justice and glory. And they'll be like, good. He's still going to be on trial, and he may still go to jail, and they don't believe he can win a general election if he's the nominee. So it's all like election interference. It's all a tool to stop him. And I've said this before, I don't really see a good way out for Republicans other than him dropping out. Really, to be frank with you. What are the odds of Republicans, him not getting the nomination right now? I don't. And you could say, no, he needs to be the nominee and he needs to be the president. I'm very concerned if that's a possibility that can even happen. Very concerned about that. The AP did some polls to looking at Joe Biden and Trump, and voters associate Trump with being old and confused. No shock there. But the word that they're associating with Trump is corrupt. And I shared a poll on Facebook the other day, and granted, it is like from a left-wing or like a Democrat, poll group or whatever about independents, and their views on not just independents, but independents, Democrats, etc., about Trump and his indictments and whether they think he's guilty or committed a crime rather. And people can dismiss that, but there's other polls that are quite similar. And whatever vibe you're getting within the Republican Party, or like when you go to like your local group or club or something, or when you're in your algorithm on TikTok, or when you're in your algorithm on Facebook, that is not necessarily the sentiment of the rest of America, who frankly probably voted against Trump in 2020 because they just wanted kind of some more peace and quiet. Interesting thing about Joe Biden, though, Bernie Sanders was in New Hampshire giving a speech. So I think people are a little concerned that Bernie might feel like he needs to jump in the race. And Gavin Newsom, of course, has been going at DeSantis because I think he feels like that's his rival. And there's rumblings about people within the White House being upset at the idea of him debating Ron DeSantis because they think it's disrespectful. And they don't want him kind of upstaging Joe Biden. And if people think that Kamala Harris is supposed to be the heir apparent, if something happens with Joe, I think they're kind of in a pickle because I think a lot of people won't like the idea of putting the woman of color aside, who's the vice president, who's in the White House, who's already supposed to be the number 2 if something happens to him. But, people just know she's kind of awful. So that doesn't mean they still won't put her away for the favor of Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom. I think Gretchen Whitmer is a stronger competitor for them than Gavin Newsom because Michigan, she just had a crazy reelection and won by a lot. And Michigan is not at this moment as crazy as California. And she's a woman, governor of a Midwestern state. Um, I think that plays better for them. But it just kind of depends on Biden. But he's like spent like so much time. You can't spend like a month on vacation if you're the president. That when there's all this stuff going on, he's about to like go back on another one. That's not normal. I'm not against people taking vacations. I'm not against presidents taking vacations and people Trump golfed and Obama golfed and Biden goes to the beach and hangs out. Okay. This is a very taxing, stressful job. You go in there looking, I don't think Obama didn't have gray hair before he went president, came out with, gray hair and stuff. It ages you when you take that job. And Biden, even when he was like on the campaign trail, he was a lot more lucid and than kind of what he is right now. And before his term is done, he might just be mummy dust. I don't know. I don't know. So there's a lot at stake with 2020 and 2024. And I'm telling you, I don't like to make predictions, but these people do not want Trump to be president. And I'm talking about people of high authority on the left and people on high authority on the right, and people on high authority on the right don't want him to be the nominee. But I think I'm pretty positive people on the left and high authority, and basically all the levers of power, really want him to be the nominee because they think that he will lose. And you could say, well, they thought that before he won. I don't think Hillary Clinton was a huge factor in him winning, though. People voted for Trump for all kinds of reasons, and people were very apathetic voting for a Democrat that year too. Like I know like a socialist who like voted for Trump because he just wanted the whole like system basically explode, I guess, and we just rise from the ashes. A better country or something after he tore down the system. But there were people who just didn't show up to vote for Clinton, and maybe people don't want to show up to vote for Biden because the economy sucks and they feel it in their pocket every day. They don't like the gas prices, and while he's just like, oh, this is my economic plan, Bidenomics, and we're like, bro, we have eyes, we have ears, we have children like we who are hungry, and we're stressed because we don't know how we're going to provide for them. That's in people's mind. You can't just like do a magic show and pretend like things are good. So people don't like Biden, that's true. They want change, that's true. But that doesn't mean they'll go back to Trump after they made the move to not vote for him. And people not being enthused, is it good enough because they have mail-in voting, they have ballot harvesting? So as long as they can get you to sign a form to request that ballot and it's just sent to you and and you mail it in or someone picks it up, that's a heck of a lot easier than you going to stand in line on voting day. And in Michigan, you can go register to vote on voting day. So it's Republicans have to figure out something, or it's just not going to be good on election day. It's just not going to be good on election day. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. I did again post a article about the debate recap and stuff, going through the everybody and their performance and stuff. So if you would like to read about it, I did cover it, but if you would like to read about it, it's available on the website along with other articles, of course. check out different merchandise that we have available at the store. I showed you guys some of my recent Trump gear that you guys can check out. But of course, we got other stuff as well, like the "You Are Not That Special" mugs. We got the "My Money, My Business." We got black tea news mug here that you guys can pick up at the website. Also, check out my books. Of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. That is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It covers theology, it covers rights, it covers science, it covers politics. And it is really crazy to see Democrats. Jen Psaki like did a segment trying to I don't know, memory wipe people on Democrats and late term abortion and their support of it. And there's so many receipts. I showed you guys last week a video. I thought it was LifeSite that put it together, but it was actually Ron DeSantis's War Room group that put it together. So kudos to them. And that just showed a compilation of a lot of Democrats supporting, no limitations on abortion. So it's totally a thing. And we're like, well, it happens really rarely. Yeah, it happens rarely, but it's still like 10,000 plus babies. Is that a small number to you? A year? Is that a small number to you? I don't think that's a small number. There's nothing to shrug off. It's, it's pretty, significant, I think, especially when you're talking about people who have done you no harm. And also, women do abort viable, healthy women do abort viable, healthy babies. It's just the truth. You could support if you would like, but most people don't. So I think that's how they should phrase it. Because a lot of people can't wrap their minds around a woman doing it in the 9th month, like on the day before. People can't they don't accept that, so they just think it's a silly talking point. So you gotta, nail it down. About healthy women do abort healthy, viable babies. Do you support that? And watch them squeal. Watch them squeal, because they do support no limitations. But anyway, go ahead, check out that book. I do have other books available. I've written more than 30, and 2 are nonfiction. The rest are fiction, about a bunch of different things. Like my book, Super Kid, is a middle grade chapter book about a boy with an overactive imagination who believes he has superpowers. He does not really. So thank you to those who picked it up for their kids and grandkids. And thank you for your kind words, people who have, read it and reviewed it. So God bless you guys. And again, hope you guys enjoyed the show. And I will let you know if I can get with anyone on Vivek's campaign team and set up that interview. But in the meantime, I'm just going to call him as I sees him. I just thought of something else that happened today. I don't know if it happened today. Oh my gosh. But they have a site on his campaign site. They decided to do like a fact check thing of a couple different things. And so one of the things they fact checked was his support of Israel. And they called out Nikki Haley, which wasn't necessary to do. I'm gonna show it to you guys really quick. I'm sorry for the 5 closings or whatever. That's what preachers do. But this is the last thing I want to mention because it just came to mind again. So they have this page that's truth over myth to cover some things. It's written with not the pristine calculated way of like a presidential campaign, but more like a internet sassy TikTok troll or something. But look at all these clowns and emojis and but Vivek doesn't support Israel, and they say wrong, keep lying, Namrita Roshanwa, which they spell her name wrong. But it's interesting though that they Nikki is her middle name, by the way, and it's a common that people try to throw out her name like this to insinuate that her name is whitewashed, or she's whitewashed in some kind of way. That so people on the View and left wing people have done that quite a bit. So Haley is her last name. She's married. That's the name she took on, and Nikki is her real name, her real legal name, and Haley is her real legal name because she's a married woman. So what is up with this? Why even mention her? Call her out with this. So people are sharing around his fact check thing. I think it's funny. Because there's one about the death tax. We'll have to talk about that sometime later. But Vivek supports the death tax. Wrong. Vivek supports a 12% flat tax across the board, while eliminating cronyist deductors and loopholes. Fake news and threatened campaigns will point to Vivek's second book, Nation of Victims, where Vivek lays out the mathematical calculation on how to fully eliminate the federal income tax, which wasn't even constitutional for most of history. Vivek is an intellectual, not a partisan hack, so he explores ideas. Well, sue him for it. If opposition researchers and career politicians want to misquote his book, they might want to consider doing something they'd never considered. Read the whole book. Actually, it's on sale for $15 right now on Amazon. I don't know if it's for $15 right now, but I paid $15.99 on Kindle. But so he quotes a socialist for this thought experiment. So he was asked about the death tax and the inheritance tax being at 59%. And so he said, no, it's not a policy position of his. It's not a policy position. He said it wouldn't be implementable right now. And he said he wouldn't do it in the context of whatever. But he said if we could have like a low flat tax across the board, would he trade that, being able to have that flat tax, for 59% inheritance tax or whatever? He said yes, he would. That there's a video out there. I don't have it pulled up right now. But it'll probably be in my Vivek video. If I end up making it, we'll see. So it is a thing that he has defended the idea of. So you could say, well, it doesn't matter that it's if it's not a policy thing. I think it matters because I think it's deeply immoral. I think it's a deeply evil sort of idea. And the reason that he suggested is because he thinks that every generation should reset, I guess. I don't know, so they can kind of prove themselves and people can be on a level playing field. That sounds like equity to me. It doesn't sound like like life isn't going to be equal at every place, every sort of position. But the point of you making money for yourself and your family is you give them something and you keep building upon that and you build your communities out, etc. But the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children. So the idea that is somehow a negative and you need to reset, I think is just utterly wrong. So it's not a conservative position and it's definitely not a libertarian position. So my question is, again, it's not a policy idea, but it's certainly not again, a conservative or libertarian one. So I know he's young. I know he's questioning a lot of things and has a lot of ideas. But I want someone who's a bit more rooted to, be the nominee. So anyway, sorry for another rant. God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.